the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Since Dr. Mamudu Bawumia ebo Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe dodo na atafre Napo din se ono na emeye ne running mate no kamea se ukopie mu ewo NDC amanyuko ni ma asomdwe de ebi mamu eda won se won NTV da se Napo na emeye Dr. Mamudu Bawumia running mate fifi kote na sha ase with press conference efiri won na se edun katia beto aso Nsem-Pii ebeto aso NDC MPs suhuyini enom ne what aka nyina ebekeka ho na what asem nyina ene se one say Dr. Mamudu Bawumia eye arrogant enti onsem fata so no ebeye running mate ne no na Kofi Bentil ono eye vice president edema Imani Ghana ede atu edwa se asem no okaye no onim se NDC amanyekuo no will come after him, but enokrane se Ghana ha yeka se obi eye arrogant ha na one epese or say nipa no eye too known or ye articulate or ye assertive analytical. It even means nipa no eye well organized. Enti Kofi Bentil say DNT NDC amanuko na ni abra won esro Dr. Mamudu Bawumia nyina ene se one enim say Dr. Mamudu Bawumia eye nipa bi oye straight ne ane na ne dabi nso eye ne dabi ntie no na ama NDC amanyuko no esura da bia won ede atoward ano se Napo eye nipa bi ono eye arrogant.
Choice is for Mr. Bawumia. It can't be wrong if it is his choice. So let that be clear. And then two is whether we like the choice or not is irrelevant. The issue, therefore, should be whether, in the scheme of things, politics is strategy, it is calculation. So it is not about whether even he likes him or not. It is about whether, in the calculation, he made the right choice to achieve his goal. I think he hit it spot on. Everybody can talk. Have you ever come across a choice like this, which people didn't have anything to say about? So everybody can talk, and the irony is that the people who he's campaigning against are the ones trying to advise him. As in, they are saying, oh, this man is not good for you, you should have picked the other person. In other words, if you pick this man, then you are going to lose. So pick the other person so you can win against us. Clearly doesn't, wash. So let those fundamentals be clear. Then you have what is being said everywhere. Napo is arrogant. You know something? I think that's not so much a negative. If you have a person like Napo who has been in the limelight, in the politics of Bantama and MPP, been at the forefront for decades, been in some of the most controversial ministries, education, recently energy, and when he is elevated to the highest political position he's ever occupied, all people have to say about him is that he's arrogant. Maybe you would see the positive I'm talking about.
They say more, but the arrogance tag resonates.
That's the point.
Which I suppose you agree with me.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Hold on. Look, in Ghana, arrogance is a term of art. It does not mean what it means in the dictionary. In Ghana, arrogant also means too known. You heard that before?
Yep.
Those of us who work in think tanks, who do analysis, who talk on radio, we hear that every day. In Ghana, arrogant means you are articulate. You know how to string your thoughts. You know how to make an argument. That's what arrogant means. In Ghana, arrogant means you're assertive. It means you know what you want and you push for it and you insist on it. In Ghana, they'll call you arrogant, they'll call you too low. In Ghana, arrogant means you are analytical. Instead of saying, well, it is this, everybody says it is this, then you are saying, why should it be this? Why can't you consider this and this other option? Immediately you go into analysis, you are too known, you are arrogant. In Ghana, arrogant could even mean you are well organized. Your things are properly put, you are organized, you move steadfastly, you calculate. You are too known. You are arrogant. So in Ghana, arrogance means so many things. Then there's another thing about Ghana. And I'm Ghanaian, I haven't lived anywhere else. In Ghana, we excuse ignorance. Okay? What I mean is, we don't celebrate excellence as much as we excuse ignorance. Look, a lot of our comedy, okay, is built on exhibiting cluelessness. People mistaking things and then we laugh. We are very jocular, okay, about those things. And sometimes it tells you why we are where we are, why we have open drains, and why certain things that should not be are. We tolerate them.
Elsewhere, the people you call the comedians are perhaps the most intelligent.
Elsewhere, they are the sharpest, the smartest people are the people in comedy.
Yeah.
Over here, and look, I don't mean the comedians here are not smart. They're actually very smart too. But over here, you realize that even the smart comedians have to dumb down, okay, to exhibiting ignorance. And you know what I'm saying? I'm very being careful not to sound insulting, but I'm making a point that if somebody calls you arrogant in Ghana, don't get too offended. Just check yourself. Just check yourself. So what we need to appreciate is that for a man like Napo, the question should be not what you have against him, but who is your alternative? Politics is almost all the time a suboptimal choice.
Right. Let me ask a follow-up question on how you have presented very beautifully the issue of arrogance from a certain dimension. And would you say that that attitude of describing a particular people as arrogant is not only with the man on the street, but even with the middle class, even with, call them the people in academia, even lawyers?
Every one of us, look, it runs through our society. There's a certain level of intolerance, okay, for analysis and meticulousness. I know because I work in a think tank. People want things quickly. Oh, please, you're book long, you're talking too much. All these things, let us see what
There's
is
something
happening
to
on
say
the
about everything and anything.
Oh, look. So we need to face up to some of these things. We really need to face up. We like copying things. Okay? We don't like sitting and analyzing why did they do it, why this, why that, why. So, and it runs through. Look, a lot of times you see policies put out. You see things, pushed out. And you ask yourself, I always ask, where is the policy brief on this? In other places, the ideas start, people write papers, they are compressed, somebody edits them, and then it goes into another place where they draw out a policy brief. They give pros and cons. They do analysis, financial analysis, impact analysis, before things are put out. So when you see something being put out, it's been processed over time. Over here, boom, and we are gone. One of my interactions with Napo, and I'm saying this to show that I'm not about it, was about free SHS. When free SHS came out, we took it to task, we analyzed, and we said, it's a great idea, we want free education, but if you go this way, Napo was one of the people who resisted us. And I'm saying this because I have also come across what people say is arrogant about Napo. Okay, I remember, I won't go into the details, but he just dismissed us. You people, you are always complaining about everything, that kind of thing. So I have my beef about Napo. But let me tell you something. Napo executed free SHS to a T. To the point where what we said was going to be a problem, review it, needs testing. The things we're saying and we're told were too known, let everybody, is what we are discussing today. It is Napo who executed it. From a certain point of view as a strategy person, I respect Napo for his ability to execute, even in this environment. That is why he's called arrogant.
Do you realize that, or do you admit or accept that the arrogance tag, if Napo is cast in the mode of Akufo-Addo, that what is perceived as arrogance is not exactly arrogance, but it is what you stated first, the first category, people who know their stuff, people who are assertive. That's how most of us growing up and knowing the Akufo-Addo and studying law, and law students wanting to imitate him, including how he keeps his handkerchief. People said he was arrogant, arrogant, arrogant. Do you accept that that tag affected his attempt to be president?
Yes, I do.
For all the times he failed?
I do, because one of the things about Ghana is that we like nice people, even if they are not effective. Across our history, I won't go too much. So yes, that affected it. But again, he managed to push through it. So I always tell people that Nana Akufo-Addo convinced us that he was the best president we had never had. As for how the performance went, that's another matter. But it was a tag. Maybe he earned it because of all those things, his, styles and things. Maybe he earned it. But you see, I don't think that should stop anybody from really achieving what you have to achieve, which is where I also think Napo's effectiveness comes in. Look, success is the best revenge. And I've explained why people call people arrogant in this country. But in the Ministry of Energy, until recently, the lights had stayed on. And even recently, I took a lot of heat by saying this is not Dumsor because I know what Dumsor is. What we got is bad, okay? But it was not the same. And I'm saying that given where he has served, Napo should have far more things coming at him of substance than just arrogance. So that tells me that there's something positive about the man. It also shows that the person who picked him is not just listening to voices. He did his analysis and has come to the conclusion I've come to that show me your alternative to Napo. And if you show me your alternative to Napo, then we can discuss who is arrogant, who is effective, who is a better choice. Because politics is almost always a suboptimal choice. You don't get what you want.
I will shortly.
That's precisely the reason why you have to speak, okay? Because, look, meaning of arrogance, an attitude of superiority, manifested in an overbearing manner or in presumptions, claims, or assumptions.
Yeah, you work with him. He's not overbearing.
Lead members of parliament in the lounge and eat lunch. If he felt superior, I'm not sure he would do that. Napo is a man who has engagements on a constant basis, walks into my office. He calls me bro. If he was superior, he wouldn't do that. He comes to my office to have meetings. When I go to tell him that, look, people have come to engage with him, let them wait in the office, I'm going to come over. He walks there. He sits with the Ministry of Energy staff where I work with him to have a regular stories. And I'm not so sure whether if you ask anybody who has worked with him at Ministry of Energy for the past 3.5 years, the attribution that he is arrogant would be what they would attribute to him. Far from that. I mean, he is, look, 2 days ago when he was announced, Joy FM interviewed me on I believe, Top Story. I was completely awash with emotion because I'd always hoped and prayed for him to be Dr. Bawumia's running mate. Because my first encounters with him, of course, I knew him as colleague members of parliament during the first term. Anytime that I needed to meet with him, I go to his office at 6 a.m. That's how early his day starts at the Ministry of Energy, Education at the time. And subsequently, when he came to the Ministry of Energy, we've had conversations, on several issues. When His Excellency the President appointed me to be his deputy, he called me that, bro, President has told me that he's bringing you over to work with me. Come home and let's have a conversation. I went to his house. We had discussions deep into the night. Okay, he told me, frankly, that look, yes, he's human. Okay, all he wants is his work done. And so when he gets into the mode where he's exacting some deliverables from you and you don't deliver, he will scold you. And indeed, and in fact, during the course of the period that I've worked with him, he scolded me on a few occasions because his expectation had not been met. He is not the one who is going to sit for a deputy minister to delay him meeting a certain trend line or anything like that. So if that's what people describe him as arrogant, then I suggest that maybe Kofi Bentil's positive trait is what we all should aspire.
Would you say then that he is like your bit of a trump, of a character?
I don't think so.
Where I have hosted Napo on my show here, and I can tell you that he's difficult. I mean, when I say difficult, I don't mean arrogance.
It's not a pushover,
he says, yes, you can't try it.
You can't.
He will insist on a point, and even if you want to stop him, and for as long as he hasn't made a point, he will not stop. So my thing is that what you see him to be, for which people then say he's arrogant, instead of saying he's assertive, he's blunt, he's not diplomatic about what he has to say, so that he says, well, you say the people in Keta, what has happened to them? You are going to budget for them to take care of their circumstances because of a certain situation. If you did that, I will not allow it. He says in Parliament, somebody angers him, then you see him throwing his hands, in the air and using almost practically violent language and showing by body as well. A journalist approaches him. It's Dumso, what do you have to say? Some years ago, you joined Kofi Bentil out there and you were demonstrating that, Dumso must stop. Here you are today, the lights are erratic and so on. His reply gives many people in the country, chills. Why does a minister speak like that? Just give the journalist an answer. Why do you say anybody who says there's Dumso, let them bring their own timetable?
You see, Samson, it's unfortunate how this particular incident has been twisted to achieve a certain end. Because if you listen to the longer version of the tape, you hear him clearly indicate to the journalist that there's no Dumso. And so there's no need for us to provide a timetable. That indeed, if there was the need for a timetable, he is not afraid to put out a timetable. After all, when we came into government, when he was energy minister in 2021, we put out a Dumso timetable. When Gridco was doing its stringing of wires in the Eastern Corridor, we did. And he termed it Dumsiesi, if you recall. And so it's not as if to say he's scared of putting out a timetable for Dumso when there's one. We went to the Parliamentary Select Committee and he showed them the daily PURC monitoring of the power grid. It was such that today you had 200 megawatts shortage, tomorrow you had 0, the next day you had 100, the following day you had 150, the next day you had 0. So that situation in itself was not one that could lend itself for you providing a timetable. All that explanation had been given. So if you insist that people say that give me timetable, when he's not in a position to give you timetable, then the response that he gave is what he gave. But we take that out and only make that statement that if you want to do so, then bring your own timetable. Suggest that there was no context at all. That's, I think, very, very, very unfair on the interviewer. If that's, well, maybe for political expediency, people have cut their clip as they do on most occasions to put that out there to suggest that he had given a statement or a response.
All right. Anyway, from the interview that I have been privy to in respect of that issue, I don't think anybody has twisted anything or done anything wrong. But what do you say about and we have to be careful not to make it about these comments. But what do you say about the Keta, infamous Keta comment, for which people are saying he cannot even campaign in Keta if
why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Samson, every constituency has needs. Every constituency MP advocates for their needs. When the budget is prepared and presented to Parliament, they would have considered all the needs that have come and the availability of the resources to meet those needs. So if a member of Parliament from an area that has been affected by tidal waves, and indeed that very occasion, the tidal waves spread across the entirety of the coastal areas of Ghana, including Shama and other places in the Western region. So if a member of Parliament from Keta says that condition, if you don't include a provision in Keta in the budget, then we are not going to support the budget. Is it not entitled to say that in that case, he would also make a case for Mesia, constituency or any other constituencies needs to be captured? Is that how to govern a country?
But that's not what he said.
But that's exactly what he said.
The problem about what he said was what he meant. He said he would do a demonstration against the minister if he provided for Keta.
Because of the condition that have been attached to that request. Then every other constituency's needs ought to be captured.
Okay. So will you say as one professor, as one university professor has said, that you must make sure he doesn't speak unscripted. So the problem is his speaking, is it?
And Napo speaks unscripted on many occasions. Many occasions. In fact, he hardly reads his speech. Okay, or all of it. And so really, I really don't think that this talk about he being arrogant is borne out by the person that I have come to know over the years.
All right.
Many people who know me, indeed, Samson, you see, you are showing clips of a man who is serving the golden stool. You played the audio from the old man from Apejavie and his description of Napo. These are people who know him better than you and I. And I am clear in my mind that the arrogance tag obviously is going to be played up by political opponents who would wish that they, like they did to Nana Addo in the past, will get some traction out of it for their political benefit. But we are here, and then we'll defend that.
Thank you. Dr. Kennedy, I'm talking.